Hi, I'm Jake Fitzsimano. I'm a representative here in the Utah House of Representatives, and I get to work in the hospital system in public health. In high school, I was really interested in medicine. I was always interested in what happens at the doctor's office, in the hospitals, and so that's where I got started. In high school, was learning as a medical assistant. I got to work in some clinics, and now I get to work in the biggest hospital system here in the state of Utah. So my work really is working in the communities. And so I get to help people be healthy and help families be healthy in their own homes, in the communities where we live and play, as well as inside the hospitals. Being healthy is so important for all of us. And there are many ways to be healthy besides just eating well and exercising. There are things in our community that we can do to help be healthy and to help our neighbors. And that's one of the funnest parts of my job, is to get to help people to understand how they can improve their lives through sidewalks and taking the bike instead of taking the bus and all kinds of things like that. And so that's really what I enjoy about my work, is getting to work with people where they live and find ways to be more healthy. When I was growing up in my neighborhood, I didn't know anyone that worked for the government. So that was a big mystery to me. And so now getting to work here in the House of Representatives, I've had to learn a lot. And I started off with knowing almost nothing about how this works, to now being able to actually participate. And not only that, I get to invite people to come up here and help make laws. And that's really exciting. And so one of the things that I do here as a representative is I get to speak on behalf of and represent the voices of people in my neighborhood, people on my street, people who I see every day. We all have things in our communities, in our neighborhoods, that we want to improve, that we want to make better. And one way we can do that is by working with the people who make decisions on our behalf. And that's what we do here at the government. We hope we're making good decisions, and even if we're not getting everything done that everybody wants, it's important for me to make sure that our voices are being heard, that we are not just letting people make decisions about my life, about your life, without us having some kind of input. That is so important, and that's the work that I get to do here. Where I live in West Valley City, like every other city in Utah, we have some issues with bad driving. And one day I took a chair and I sat on the corner of 3500 South out on 56 West where I live, and just watched cars running red lights. And within a 15-20 minute span, we saw so many people that were getting into really risky situations. So what I was able to do was talk to neighbors. They agreed this is an issue. I talked to the police department. They agreed this is an issue. And so what we did was we came up with a bill, which is an idea for a law. We propose it here. We take it into a committee, we talk about it in groups. If the committees think it's a good idea, it moves on to the bigger group, the full House of Representatives, and we get to debate it there. We try to improve these ideas that we have, and if everything goes well, we actually get it approved, and then it goes in front of the governor, who can sign it, and it becomes a law. And so all of these things start off with ideas. It starts off with somebody, in this case, running a red light, or somebody unfortunately getting into a crash. And they can come as their representative. I expect my neighbors to come to me with these problems and say, what can we do about this? And then I get the chance to work with other legislators or people that make laws and figure out ways to make these things better, not just in our community, but for the whole state. I love Utah. This is home. But I wasn't born in the United States, and I didn't grow up all of my life here in Utah. So I was actually born in New Zealand, which is an island in the South Pacific. I grew up in Hawaii, which is where my mom's family is from, as well as here in Utah, where I did college and where I now get to work and raise my family. It was an interesting path to politics and government, and it wasn't one that I ever expected to find myself in. And it really started, in my memory, back in junior high. I was a kid when my dad became a US citizen. And I remember our whole family put on our church clothes. We went down to the courthouse. There was a fancy ceremony. And he was sworn in as a citizen of the United States. And I remember that was so important for him. It was a big deal for him. But when I was so young, I didn't really understand why it was a big deal. Because when we got home, we still lived in the same house. We still drove the same car. We still lived in the same neighborhood. To me, nothing really changed. But as I grew up and came to understand, thanks to my dad teaching me about what it means to be an American, I learned that what that meant was that he now had a voice in his community. We didn't just live here, we were now helping to make decisions about this place where we live. He was able to vote, and he taught us as his kids that your vote is your voice. And if we don't have a voice, how can we express what we need, what we want to change, or who we want to lead us, or who we want to make decisions for us? And when I saw my dad get involved in that process, it really wasn't an option for us growing up. He always encouraged us that when we turned 18, we needed to vote. We needed to learn about the different candidates. We needed to serve in the community and get involved in whatever issues we were passionate about. And so I really do credit my parents, both of my parents, with instilling that in us. And again, that doesn't mean you have to run for office or try to get elected or there's so many ways you can get involved right in your own neighborhoods, by volunteering, by getting involved with other committees, with Neighborhood Watch. There are so many different ways to get involved. But if we don't vote and we don't get involved in politics, even if we don't like politics, we don't have a voice. And so that's why it's so important. So I was really proud this session to be able to run bills, what we call run bills, or propose ideas that were all generated from my community. They were all ideas from my neighbors. And so one of these was definitely looking at traffic safety. That was a big issue that West Valley people told me they wanted us to address. I also had students from the local high school who came to city council and talked about the scary situations they've encountered with fake guns or pellet guns being used in city parks and public spaces. And so that was also an idea that I was able to propose here. And we actually got that passed through committees. We had our police chief who came and testified. We had the high school students come and talk about how important this issue is to make sure that everyone is safe, even with fake guns or toy guns. We also had a bill that really tried to help our folks who are our older folks in the community who are on a health insurance called Medicare. And we actually did pass that bill. And so that's now a law that allows our grandparents and folks in that generation, in that age group, to have more flexibility in their health care. And so these are some of the things that I was able to really propose and try to work on this year that, again, were all ideas from my neighbors, which was really cool.